there we go. All right. Hey, everybody. Very excited to be here. I just came from San Francisco. It's like a 15 or 16-hour flight. Interestingly, it's actually blockchain week right now. But just before I left, it was, it was like Deep Tech Week, then Tech Week, Fleet Week. And it was so funny because it's just a reminder of how cool crypto is and Web3. Because when I was in SF, everyone was like trying to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I was just like, anyway, a reminder of like how much more at home I feel in the cosmos. Okay, so here to talk about Interchain JavaScript, elevating UI and UX across the cosmos. I'm Dan Lynch, founder at Cosmology. I've been working in no code since, well, before it was a hashtag, around 2005, building, drag and drop website builders. Cosmos since 2022, and UI UX tooling for the Cosmos. So we'll dig into that. But just to give you a bit of my background, what I like to do generally is take something complex and simplify it into something simple. So a lot of my work historically was around taking design and engineering and other areas like marketing and sales and compressing it into something more simple, because when you weave together these other areas, you end up kind of braiding things. We'll talk a bit about that. So a lot of what I do is like to simplify complexity. And I've done this for a lot of top-tier brands such as General Electric, Visa, William Morris Endeavor, a lot of great brands. And a lot of the goal is to bring this to the cosmos. So the guiding principles are decreasing complexity, increasing simplicity, enabling access for creatives and laypeople, and also bringing that also to engineering and software development. But generally, I like to start with things that people care about most. So we'll get into that. But generally, I like to solve people problems, not just technology problems. So we will see more about what that means. So we're introducing the Interchain JavaScript stack, which was spawned with Telescope, our initial sort of CosmJS companion. It basically reads the blockchain protocols, and like a printing press will like print and generate your client SDK to allow you to, as a front-end developer, to now work with the back-end blockchain. TS CodeGen is the same type of tool for Cosmosm. Chain registry has all of the information you need, from logos and token information and denominations and asset lists and all the things you would need. A lot of this didn't exist when I first came into the Cosmos. CosmosKit, this is actually a little bit of alpha, but soon will become InterchainKit, is the wallet adapter for the Cosmos. So if you need to connect to Kepler or Leap or Ledger, we make that very simple with one interface. Create Cosmos app. This is a boilerplate starter kit to have a modern Cosmos application and have all of the tooling put together for you. So you don't have to bring in Telescope or bring in CosmJS or bring in CosmosKit or the chain registry. It's already packaged up nicely for you. Starship, this is our CI/CD testing environment. It can simulate the full life cycle of multiple blockchains and validators, and you can actually write JavaScript for your tests. So really great to do end-to-end testing, highly recommended. And then CosmJS, evolving into InterchainJS, which we'll talk more about, and Interchain UI, which is the UI kit for the Interchain. So before going too much further, I think it's always good to look at data. What do users want? And in April of this year, S16 Research Ventures did a study on user behavior in the Cosmos. And what they found was that users actually wanted UI UX more than anything else. That means above performance, tokenomics, airdrops, yield, and even security. So that was really interesting. It also kind of warmed our hearts because we felt that Cosmology was very aligned with users, focusing on tooling for UI, UX, and front-end development. So if we're talking about front-end development, many of you know, maybe not, but nearly all UI And front-end is built with JavaScript. So in many ways, JavaScript is very important when you're talking about UI UX. And JavaScript is the language of the people. So bringing this into Cosmos, app chains have unique functionality. Akash helps you deploy decentralized infrastructure. Stargaze has NFTs. Osmosis lets you swap tokens. If you want to build an application that combines these, you're inherently adding these layers of complexity. And let's dive into this a bit. So there's a word, and I have to give Rich Hickey for popularizing the word complex. But if you take the origins of this word and its meaning, it essentially means to combine and to interweave. And what ends up happening is you get complexity. And you can think about each weave and braid, and it actually creates something quite intricate, maybe even something special. When you want to combine these app chains, you're also doing the same thing. You're creating something very special, unique, and possibly very meaningful. But those braids are also very tight, and once they're together, they're hard to take apart, and that is something that we want to kind of unravel, if you will. And so before Cosmology's existence, if you wanted to create some kind of a JavaScript application so that we could actually build UI UX, you had to have the CTO level skill set. That means you had to understand the Rust-based smart contracts, the Go Cosmos SDK blockchain code, as well as how to create and ship and publish a JavaScript NPM module that maybe your team could then use and consume to build front end. So this is a very specialized engineer. This engineer also has to know 3 different languages. Let's say you're really good at hiring and you can find one of these people and you've got 3 different projects. What happens is if you have people exposing your back-end functionality and creating these applications, you've got different shapes and forms and ergonomics for all these different JavaScript clients. And so that's where we get this complexity in braiding. And as you can see, not only is there a whole class of engineers that has to maintain this synchronization and acting as intermediaries between your front end and your back end, but it also increases the number of communication channels. And if you guys have ever read The Mythical Man Month, the premise is that for realistic software projects, if you add more developers to your project, it will actually make it take longer to complete. And this is because of the n-squared communication problem. And so I argue that actually a lot of people out there are not doing software engineering. They're actually doing software construction. They're building the same bridges over and over, simply trying to connect their software so that it can talk to each other. So how do we bring back the artistic craft of code and get people out of software construction and into software engineering? And it's actually quite simple. We can simplify things. And what that means is we bring it down to a single, pure form, or reduce these systems to their basic elements. And so we take something like this. Before Cosmology, we had this whole series of engineers, and now we can replace it with a system. And in fact, in this case, it was Telescope, but now we have no engineers, a whole entire class of engineering problems, a whole entire class of engineers. Now we just don't have to have, because the software can introspect and read the blockchain protocol. It can introspect and read your smart contracts. And now there's no intermediary between your front and your back end teams. Your UI engineer can directly start building applications on top of your blockchain and your smart contracts. So the CTO skills are not required. You just pipe your CosmWasm contract, your blockchain into Telescope, and you get this really nice SDK. The other great thing is it's a unified standard across chains. So this actually means that this approach scales no matter how many chains you will add. It has a canonical way to expose the functionality of the back end to the front end. And this means if you're working with Akash, you're working with Stargaze, you're working with other cool new chains that are going to pop out native, for example. So it actually scales. And I think the big idea here is that we're, one, abstracting the languages. You don't have to know Rust. You don't have to know Go. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there are 20 to 25 million people in the world that know JavaScript. There's only, I think, about 4 million that know these two languages on the left here. And UI developers only need to know JavaScript and CSS. So we're lowering the barrier for front-end developers to build dApps. So we give them this nice packaged up applications. Now they can go and just build really cool stuff. So we've solved this for the Interchain. This is great. Now we can build all these awesome dApps, right? Well, we are here. So as we zoom out into the greater cosmos, we have to remember that there's other ecosystems out there, and actually to grow the pie, as a lot of us have been talking about, well, we want to be also building bridges and connections with these other galaxies of chains and ecosystems. And that brings us, my friends, to InterchainJS, the new universal signing client. It is the evolution of CosmosJS. So it has universal network adapters. This means we have many blockchain networks, and we can reduce this down into a single universal signer. And it actually allows us to have different encoders, like amino and protobuf signing. Soon we will be adding EIP 712. And interestingly, it's not like we have to bring in WAGMI.js or Ethers.js or some other JS. It is just one JavaScript library with a pluggable adapter for the encoders, for the signers, and also for the auth and account derivations. So it's built for extension. Even blockchains we don't know about yet will seamlessly be able to fit into this model. And again, bringing back what do people want. The first thing was UI UX, the second is performance. So the next thing we're focused on is bundle size. So we can optimize build outputs, and we do this with tree shaking so that when the JavaScript gets packaged up into your application, it's only going to bundle the code that is required for your application to run. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like most people, like with these giant millions of sites with millions of users, if a site doesn't load in like 100 or 200 milliseconds, they have like calculations about how many millions of dollars they can lose. And a lot of this doesn't really happen in Web 3. So we are taking a Web 2 approach to making sure we can have super fast loading times, very maintainable, small amounts of code that is on these websites and web apps. InterchainJS is built with test-driven development and end-to-end testing first. You can check out on our GitHub, Cosmology tech/InterchainJS. And you can see here we got staking and all the different like token transfers already working in our GitHub Actions, thanks to Starship. And InterchainJS is in beta, so it's in a dev preview mode, but you can test it and try it today. So please either reach out to us or just go to the GitHub, try it out. It's already published to NPM. So we'll be hopefully quickly coming out of beta into production. And there's a couple tweaks we want to make to it so that we want to add a couple fields to the chain registry. I can get to the details if you're interested. So ping me afterwards if you're curious or want to get involved. And because of this complete rewrite of InterchainJS, or CosmosJS to become InterchainJS, we've rewritten CosmosKit from the ground up. And so if you want to connect with one of these wallets here, like Kepler Ledger, Cosmos Station, you're probably familiar with CosmosKit. It's, again, the same pattern that we always do. We take something complex, we simplify it into a single interface. So many wallets now is a single universal interface, a universal wallet adapter. And now we've built it from the ground up. It's going to be a smaller bundle size, and it also is purpose-built to work with InterchainJS. And so in the future, once we support EIP 712, we'll also be able to have MetaMask. So it won't just be Kepler and Leap and all of our awesome Cosmos wallets. We will now be able to natively integrate with Ethereum and other Solana wallets and other ecosystems. So it's integrated with InterchainJS, smaller bundles, better testing harness. It's a much more new and improved version of CosmosKit. And just the branding, we thought, because some people will be on CosmosKit for some time, CosmJS for some time, instead of having version 2 and 3 and dealing with versions, we just decided, let's just go with the new marketing trend of Cosmos and go to Interchain. So we're also officially supporting React and Vue. So if you're a Vue.js user, you're probably going to be stoked. So definitely check that out. And Telescope, we have a few updates, which is the CosmJS companion. We also are going to be doing a bunch of new tree shaking to support all the latest, greatest stuff with InterchainJS. And also code gen for extending CosmosKit and Stargate client helpers. So for any frequently used functions, you can actually automatically add them to your class. And by default, you'll have a very minimal, super small bundle size, and only will be using the code that you need for your application. Create Cosmos app, we have another few updates. We're getting to the end here. So the chain admin dashboard is really awesome. We've got staking, we've got governance, we've got asset lists, we've got a faucet if you want to work with testnet tokens, and also contract admin. So you can upload contracts and you can query your contracts. There's a whole UI, so if you're a new chain, you want to launch something, you might not be able to afford to get listed on a particular wallet dashboard or whatnot, but now you can get all this stuff out of the box. And additionally, we have an integration with Spawn, built by Rollchains and Strangelove. And so we also have a dashboard that will help you when you're spinning up a new chain that's baked into the Spawn CLI. So again, solve people problems, not just technology. Always think about what it is that people really need. And definitely check out, save time, get creative with the Interchain JavaScript stack. You will save lots of time and hopefully can find the joy of programming and get back to your artistic craft of creating software. And right before I go, make sure to come by tomorrow. There's another special announcement, a new consumer chain that we'll be talking about. Other than that, if you want to contribute, we have lots of open source libraries. We love your contributions. Thank you for your time.